Hey everyone, this is Tommy signing on Energy Academy. Now I'm going to be talking about how we can use more energy in the world as the world's population increases whilst reducing our impact on the environment. Now you might think this sounds like eating your cake and having it, but I've thought about this and it really is. Now if every nation in the world follows these 6 steps or these 6 principles to using energy, we would be able to reduce our impact on the environment whilst not worrying about the world's population. Now, this is what I call the energy matrix. The energy matrix essentially is made up of 6 parts, spelt with an acronym SCARCE, SCARCE. I'll start with the first thing, security, S for security. Now, the most important thing in our lives is energy. Materially speaking, energy is the most important part of our physical well-being. We need energy to grow foods. We need energy to harvest foods. We need energy to transport foods around. We need energy to make medicines. We need energy to heat hospitals. We need energy to heat our homes. We need energy for every single thing. For clean water, we need energy. So energy is the most important tool or resource that a nation has. In fact, it's so important that energy security is one of the key things that is looked at and protected within national security of a nation, regardless of if you're a service-based nation or if you're an industrial nation. The best way to achieve energy security is to source your energy locally. If your energy is sourced within the boundaries of your country, nobody can control it. You own it. Except you're invaded, nobody can literally cut off your energy. If, however, you are sourcing your energy from a country that is not a friendly country or country that's potentially an enemy country, if things turn sour, what could happen is they'll just turn off the tap and you have no light. There is no more energy. Another way you can ensure energy security is to source from an ally, but the closer the ally is to you, geographically speaking, the better. Because if your ally is separated by a large body of water, that energy being transported to you could be intercepted by an enemy nation, theoretically, which means that there is a risk there. So sourcing energy locally ensures energy security. The second thing is concentration. Concentration speaks to the high density nature of an energy source or the low density nature of an energy source. Now, the higher the density of an energy source, the less impact you have on the environment, the less resources you need to use, the less mining you need to carry out, the less water you need to use. The higher the impact of an energy source, the more water you need to use, the more mining you need to carry out, the more transportation, the more recycling. There is a lot more mass, a lot more stuff to dig out of the ground, to move out, a lot more resources to use. So higher density forms of energy is the best way to go about recovering or using energy. Lower density form of energy should always be a last resort to essentially using energy. The best way to explain this is, if you think about a car, for example, let's say a car that has an engine that has 5,000 horsepower, right? That car is essentially powered by petrol or diesel. A 5,000 horsepower car generates about the same amount of energy or power rather as 5,000 workhorse tied together running at once. If you think about how much space you need essentially to generate the amount of power needed for a 5,000 horsepower engine, it's a small amount of space compared to 5,000 horses all tied up together. All the grass they have to eat, all the places you have to stable them, all the cleaning, the grooming, the amount of land you need for 5,000 horses. That's an army. That speaks to the nature of energy density. The third thing on the energy matrix is abundance. Now, abundance speaks to the plentifulness or the scarcity of an energy source. I used to work in Tunisia in North Africa, and Tunisia is bordered by Algeria and is also bordered by Libya. These are 2 gas producing giants in North Africa. Tunisia, on the other hand, has a small amount of gas that it extracts offshore. The gas it has is only enough for consumption internally. It doesn't have enough gas to export. At least they haven't discovered enough gas for it to export internationally. So Tunisia understands that it has this energy source, but it also understands that it doesn't have enough energy to sell for export because it wouldn't have enough energy for its internal usage. So it's very important for us to understand the nature of the energy is in terms of how much energy we have that we can source locally, right? Because that helps you to be able to strategize, to be able to say, Well, if we want to ensure energy security, we don't want to sell off all our energy source because we only have a certain amount that can last or that we can use internally. The fourth item on the energy matrix is reliability. I think this is one of the most important elements of an energy source. The more reliable an energy source, the better security it enables a nation to have. The less reliable an energy source, the less energy security the nation has, the more risk there is. Now think about reliability in terms of your ability to flick on a switch, expecting light to come on the very instant. Some energy sources are reliable. For example, you can ignite a drum of oil. You can start a nuclear reactor and get an awful amount of energy instantly. But if you're thinking about a wind farm, for example, there are some times that you have low wind blowing across a continent, not just a little area of a nation, across an entire continent. You could have low wind blowing, and that means that your wind farms aren't working. So you have an energy source that is quite random and not very reliable. Very recently, the UK had to pay extra for its gas and also was relying on some coal generation. Why? Because of the energy that was extracting from wind across Europe had depleted significantly because it was low wind across Europe. And that meant energy prices spiked up for that time period. Think about it. Say you are in a war, for example, or there was a natural disaster. You want your energy right at those key moments. What if nature says, you know what, I don't feel like working today? So the reliability of the energy source is very important because it speaks to the energy security for a nation. Now, the fifth item on the energy matrix is compatibility. Compatibility speaks to the nature of the different energy sources you have on a particular grid or in a particular system, and how well you can integrate an energy source into a system. So if you have an energy source that is, let's say we just spoke about something that's quite unreliable, it means that it's going to give you a very unstable system. If you have an energy source that is quite stable, it will give you an energy source that is quite reliable, quite dependable. Compatibility speaks to how well can you integrate an energy source with the existing energy sources that you have in your system. So that's something that is very important to think about, because if you have an energy source that is not compatible with what you currently have, it could mean that you need to spend extra amounts of money to have a system that is more compatible and easier for the end user to use. The last point on the energy matrix speaks to economics. Now, economics really speaks to how cheap or how cost effective is it for the end user, the customer, to use your energy. Economics is king. If something is economically prohibitive, people wouldn't use it. Now, we know in recent years, fuel poverty has been an issue in Europe. Thousands of people across the continent have died, especially during winter. Why? Because of the cost of living has gone up, and because the cost of living has gone up and the cost of energy especially has gone up, people are having to make a choice as to whether to turn on the heating or to buy some extra food. And if they want to buy some extra food, they say, you know what, I'll have to forgo on the heating. What this means is that many people more than need to die during the winter period due to fuel poverty. And so energy economics is very important, and the economics of your energy source is king, because there is no point in sourcing an energy that is fantastic if people can't afford it. Affordability of the energy is king. Now, these 6 items, SCARCE, that is security, concentration, abundance, reliability, compatibility, and economics, are crucial. And I don't see many people talking about this. People talk about how green can we make our energy and how clean is our energy. And people use buzzwords like that. If you notice, I haven't actually used any of those buzzwords. And I'm going to tell you more as to why I don't like using some of those buzzwords, because they're not very helpful in how we think about energy and how it impacts our environment around us. So let me know what your thoughts are. If you think this idea is great, I want to hear your thoughts below. If you think I don't actually agree with you, I want to hear your thoughts below. Like I said in my first video, the most important thing is that we're having an open, honest, frank conversation about the practicality of how we use energy in our world and in the 21st century. Thank you for listening. This is Tommy signing off on Energy Academy.